Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Biped podcast, where we talk about urban clean energy transition and ways to improve related concepts, processes, and technologies to facilitate transformation toward climate neutral cities. My name is Pavel Kogut, and in today's episode, we will focus on ethics. We often hear that to be successful, energy transition should be green, it should be digital, and it should be just, meaning that no one should be left behind as cities move forward to implement climate policies. And one way to engage people in the green transition is through the use of technology. There are solutions that help to collect and exchange data on energy consumption, to understand solar potential of different buildings, to model the impact of new energy sources and flexibility potentials. But how do we ensure that engagement with these technologies is ethical? To discuss this important question, I'm joined by Tomas Pavelka. Tomas is a lawyer with over 10 years of experience in various areas of European law, including privacy, technology, and competition law. He graduated from University of Cambridge and Charles University in Prague and worked for several international firms in Brussels, Prague, and Bratislava. He regularly represents clients in high-profile cases before courts, national authorities, and the European Commission. He has held external advisory roles with the European Commission and advises on projects financed from EU funds. Hello, Thomas. Nice to have you here. How are you?
Hello, Pavel. Thanks for having me. I'm very good. Thank you.
Nice. Well, Thomas, since we're talking about ethics, I'd like to ask you the question about ethics, because it's a concept that we sort of intuitively understand, but may find it difficult to define it precisely. How do you see it? What is ethics from a legal standpoint?
So the law and the legal requirements are the bare minimum. So I see ethics as an extension to the legal requirements. So basically, any ethical solution must be legally compliant, of course. But in order to be truly ethical, you need to consider some additional aspects, such as broader impact on different stakeholder groups and the society as a whole. So that's ethics for me.
Okay, well, nice and short. And if you go back to the energy context, to develop effective decarbonization strategies, we may need to rely on complex simulations, which in turn require cross-domain modeling. And in this regard, I was wondering, when do we need to consider or apply ethics? And let me know if my assumption is correct. Say, when we use data on energy efficiency in buildings, ethics maybe is not so important because we're talking about physics here. But as soon as we start dealing with people and social aspects, say we want to correlate energy consumption with household income or employment and educational levels, then ethical considerations should come into play. Is that correct?
It is both. Fully agreed. Once you get focused on people rather than things or natural phenomena that you can measure and it's simply numbers, then the ethics becomes really paramount. I'd like to use this example, which is a little bit stretched, but let's see if it works. So think about the nuclear bomb, right? You have an atomic bomb, and it's quite irrelevant whether it exists or not in itself. But once you think about the possibility that it may kill or harm, millions of people, then the bomb becomes fundamentally an ethical question. And when you say measuring energy efficiency of buildings, you immediately have ethical issues because buildings are there to be occupied by people, and if you put a number on a building, let's say this building is energy inefficient, well, you kind of are saying that, well, the people that inhabit it, maybe they are maybe not as efficient as they could be, or they have not really thought through how to use the building properly. So you immediately come up with a range of ethical questions, and this is quite fascinating.
Oh, yes, that's clear now. Thank you. And let's stay on the energy subject. And many innovation projects, including Biped, are building all kinds of technical solutions to support cities in their energy transition. And these tools include technologies like local digital twins, which are meant to be used by professionals and non-experts alike to support informed decision making. Now, which ethical risks, in your opinion, can emerge from the use of technologies like digital twins, and what we can do to mitigate these risks?
Local digital twins are quite powerful information tools, in my opinion. And so they would come with risks like any other sort of data-driven project. If you have a product which is based on wrong or out-of-date data, then the results will probably flawed as well. So, if a city official uses a flawed model for making decisions, this can have severe ethical, but also legal, of course, repercussions. But the risk sort of discussion can be fairly nuanced. When you think about, let's say, insurance company looking at the digital twin of a certain city, and looking at one district, they realize, hey, the people in this district, they seem to cause much more traffic accidents than elsewhere. So maybe should we increase their insurance premiums? As a digital twin designer, you have to consider whether this is a legitimate use case and whether the right balance is struck between the interests of all stakeholders, especially citizens who are actually the data subjects in this case.
Yeah. And, I was thinking when dealing with data and technology and thinking of ethics in this context, GDPR is probably the main legal framework that comes to mind. But I've been reading recently news that GDPR will be revised and probably simplified to improve EU competitiveness vis-a-vis United States and China. What do you know about that? And do you think that this will erode ethical protections that we currently enjoy?
So GDPR, as most listeners will know, is the General Data Protection Regulation, is the sort of mammoth law that we have in the EU to protect privacy of our citizens. And this has been a very ambitious project from the beginning, so it can never be free of flaws. That's understandable, but I think the fundamentals are really good. When you look at the recent developments in the US, where there are clear tendencies to create basically a digital police state, and this is possible precisely because they are lacking any effective privacy regulations in the US. So I think Europe got this one right, even ahead of its time. I think it was 2018 when the GDPR was adopted, but it was based on a directive dating back from 1995. So really ahead of its time, I think. But there are some practical aspects of GDPR that have been found to be quite complicated to be applied by businesses in practice. One good example where the European Commission is looking at simplification is the fairly burdensome obligations for small and medium enterprises to keep detailed records of what they collect and process in terms of personal data. So I think it's good that the Commission is thinking about how to tweak those nuances, let's say, but the fundamentals, I think they are good and they are here to stay. And I think we can be proud as Europeans that we have such a flagship privacy project globally. And my role as a legal and ethics partner in BIPED and other projects financed from European funds is basically to keep a finger on these trends and ensure that we stay within the bounds of what is high legal and ethical standards that we have in Europe.
Well, Thomas, thank you for your really insightful responses. And I must say, I learned quite a lot from you today. And while by no means an ethics expert, my knowledge of the subject certainly improved in the context of green and digital transition. And I hope that our listeners also learned something new and interesting from today's podcast. We'll be having more exciting conversations like this one on clean urban energy transition in the future. So do stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.